Hi there, friends. It's Leah with Pinkfresh. There's a little bit of delay, but I am live, so I'm going to just wait here and hopefully, okay, there I see myself. Okay, I'm just getting everything turned off, making sure it's all muted so that when I pull everything up, it I don't get any terrible echoes or anything like that happening. Well, happy Tuesday, friends. I am happy to be hanging out with you today. We're going to have some fun with some of our new products, but I'm going to give it just a couple of minutes and hopefully we will catch some more people in here. I do know that I made a little mistake when I sent out the email and it went to a wrong, much smaller list, not technically wrong, just a smaller list. So it is possible that we may have a smaller audience today because my second email it still is taking its time to go through. So we will hang out with who is able to make it. And then if the email comes through, halfway through the show or whatever, just keep in mind that the replay will be available not too long after the show is over. All right. Well, hello to Kim in Alaska and Patricia and Diane and Suzanne and Debbie and Sheila. Thanks for joining me today. It looks like Heather is here. Hi, Heather. Heather is the one moderating behind the name Pinkfresh Studio. Hello, Donna. Thanks for joining me today. And Carol. Oh, Sheila, it looks like you've received your ink cubes. So that is super exciting. Yay. Funny enough, I'm not going to use inks today. I thought it would be fun to do something a little different than what we normally do in our lives. And we are going to do some really simple watercoloring today. So I thought it would be really fun to do that because we don't do that very often. We kind of stick with stencils and all of that. So thought it would be a nice little change up from the norm. So before we get the camera flipped around and everything going, first, let us know if you're new here. If this is your first time watching a Pinkfresh Studio live, we'd love to welcome you. Once I flip around to my other camera, I don't see as many comments come through. So if I miss you, welcome. We're so happy that you're here. Heather is moderating in the comments and she catches lots of what I miss. Whether it's questions or someone letting us know that's their first time here. But if we both happen to miss, especially a question, just ask it again because we probably likely just didn't see it. Now, all of the products are linked in the video description that I'm using today. Hold on. All of the Pinkfresh Studio products that I'm using today that are available are linked in the video description. So the watercolor pens I'm using are not, but I'll let you know what they are, what brand they are. Hi, friends. Thanks for joining me. I'm glad we've got a few more people on. And then also at the end of every live, we give away a $15 gift card code. Oh, hello, Jamie. Welcome, newbie. So glad that you found us. Anyway, we give away a $15 gift card code. All you have to do is just let us know, or, just keep hanging out in the chat with us. Hopefully I will see a few more comments today than normal because I am just watercoloring, which doesn't require like crazy amounts of concentration. So hopefully I will be able to catch a little bit more, but hang out with us in the chat, ask questions if you have them, comment, chat with each other, totally fine. And then underneath this video, there is an arrow button and it says share next to it. If you click that button, you can share it in an email with friends, you can share it on your Facebook page, you can share it in a Facebook group, just make sure it's allowed. There are some crafty Facebook groups that don't like stuff like that to be shared. So just verify that that's okay. So that's everything I have. Heather will pick a winner at the end of the hour, but we should probably get this camera flipped around and get going if I'm going to watercolor an entire piece. So let's go ahead and get this flipped around. Okay. So there we have it. I'm just going to wait for YouTube to catch up with me to make sure it looks okay on my phone. Sorry, this might kind of just got to make a small adjustment on my camera. There we go. Okay, perfect. Hello, Cheryl. I see this is your first time live. We are happy to have you. Welcome. Okay, friends, today I am going to be using our brand new Cosmos Bunch stamp set. This is a beautiful floral stamp set illustrated by the lovely and talented Emily Midget. She illustrated this lovely Cosmos flower bunch. It's stunning. And of course, this stamp set does have layering stencils, friends. I used the layering stencils on this card so you can see how beautiful they turned out. But I thought it would be really fun to watercolor this. We don't watercolor very often. And I just want to show you guys that with your products, you have so many options. Of course, you have the layering stencils, which you can use with the stamp set, and you can also use them on their own. You get the die to cut out the entire panel, but let's not forget that you also have this beautiful outline floral set that is perfect for coloring in any medium. Now, I am not an alcohol marker colorer, but it is perfect for that as well, and colored pencils. But I do dabble in very basic watercolor. So I thought it would be fun today to do that. So let's go ahead and let's get this guy stamped and ready to go for watercolor. So I was looking through my stash today and I wanted to heat emboss this in silver, but lo and behold, I do not have silver embossing powder. So I guess I know something that I need to put on a shopping list. But I found an alternative that will work just as well. Okay, so this is just a 5 by 6 inch piece of watercolor paper. This is a very, very, very sneak peek. This is actually our watercolor paper. It is unreleased and it is going to be released at some point in 2022. We just don't have a specific date yet. But I figured if I'm going to watercolor and I have our watercolor papers, I might as well use them. Oh, thank you, Donna. I'm glad that you are excited for that. And friends, I am unsure if we're going to be doing hot foil plates for any of those realistic floral stamp sets that we released in September, which is the release that Garden Roses was in. I'm unsure if a hot foil plate would work for it. So that is a question that I don't think we have the answer to. Okay. So as with watercolor paper, friends, it is textured. So you want to, for one, make sure that you do a real good job of using your powder tool so that when we go to stamp and add the embossing powder, that the embossing powder will only stick where you stamp it. Oh, thank you, Laura. I'm glad you enjoyed my slimline card with the In the Meadows washi tape. I really appreciate that. All right, I am just trying to find my embossing ink. I must not have pulled it out. Okay, so I am probably going to ink this stamp up a few times because one embossing powder, or excuse me, watercolor paper is textured. So it takes a few, to me, it takes a few impressions to get a good one. And then you also, on top of that, have a powder tool on there. So I like to ink it up a few times just to ensure that I'm getting a nice stamped impression. I'm so glad you guys are loving the new release. As I am stamping here, I'll go over that. We had our final release of 2021 went live on Monday. It is currently available in our online shop. Now, if you were, there's a little hair on there. If you were an attendee of our very first Create and Connect virtual event this past November, most of the products in the release are from that event, so you already own it. There is one hot foil plate, the Heart Grid hot foil plate, that is in the release that was not a part of the event kit. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to do this probably just a couple more times just to make sure that I'm getting a good stamp impression. Sheila, I am using the textured side of the watercolor paper. I prefer that for watercoloring, but you certainly could use the side that's less textured. Keep in mind, both sides have a little bit of texture. All watercolor paper is going to be like that, but I am definitely using the side that has more texture on it. And we don't have an exact date as to when this watercolor paper will be available in 2022. So just keep your eyes peeled. Of course, I'm sure we will use it here in our lives again as it gets closer to the release date. Okay, let me take a look. All right, I feel like I got a good impression there. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe my stamp down real quick and get any excess ink off of it. And let's get the stamp put away while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so I mentioned that I don't have silver embossing powder, which is strange. I thought I did, but apparently I don't. So instead I found this little sample of platinum, and I did a little test run, and it's close enough to silver that I am happy with how it turns out. So good use of it, I guess, too, because I don't use this color. I typically stick with gold, but I wanted to use a silver sentiment from that foiled die cut pack that we released. And so I needed something that would match to that silver sentiment a little bit better. So I'm going with platinum today. I think it is actually really quite stunning. But I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't have a brand because this is just like a little sample that I received. So I don't know who the brand is for this. I think Hero Arts does have a platinum embossing powder. Okay, now my heat gun is going to get a little loud and it probably will mute for a moment. So if it goes quiet, that's the reason why. Okay, I think I got that all embossed, but let me just verify that it all got melted. Sure did. Okay, so I'm just going to, while my paper is still warm, I like to kind of bend it back into place. Heat embossing always causes things like this to be a little warped, but the paper is nice and thick. It's 140 pounds, so it doesn't warp too bad. And so I am just kind of trying to bend it back in place here. Shay, my heat tool is from Wow. It's the dual power heat tool, just for reference. Okay, I'm gonna put a couple of things away just to have them out of my way so that I'm not searching for things when it's time. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying that I am not like a professional watercolor artist by any means, but I like to watercolor. So, and I buy all of these things for watercolor and then I don't end up using them. So a while back, I took a class where we used these Spectrum Noir sparkle markers and I fell in love with them. And I had to have like every color. Like I have an entire pen holder, marker holder full of these markers. And then I never use them. And they're so beautiful. And so I should. So today, what I'm going to do is we're going to watercolor. So keep this in mind, friends. I am not worried about light sources. I am not worried about them being super realistic. I am a simple watercolor artist, friends. I really mostly just like the look of blending from dark to light. That is kind of my go-to. So I have these three colors: pink garnet, emerald green, and orchid. These are the colors we're going to watercolor our floral piece in with today. And so you'll notice I have two rags here. I have a rag that I keep my pen on when I'm not using it because they can be a little drippy and you don't want to keep taking the cap off and on because it does kind of splatter paint when you do that. So once I take the cap off, I like to keep it off until I'm done using it. So I've got one for keeping my inky marker on, and then I have one that's clean for dabbing off my water brush. Now, I would not typically use a water brush if I were using pan watercolors, but I do like water brushes when using with markers. And you'll see why as we get a little bit more into this. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit of water out onto my water brush so I know that it's damp. You don't want to go crazy with water, but you do want to have a damp brush. And we're going to start with the pink flowers. So I'm going to gently take off the lid because, as I mentioned, it can splatter stuff everywhere. Now, the cool thing about markers like this is you can take it, you don't actually have to wet your paper down first. And I'm going to do like a petal at a time. So you can actually take your marker directly to the petal, and then you can blend it out with water. And so I am a big proponent of blend it out a little and then dab your pen off onto your thing. And that allows you to blend out the color. So I have a very simple watercolor method. I put the watercolor directly at the base of whatever it is I'm watercoloring, and then I blend it out, just drying my brush in between each little flick just to pull that color out. And like I mentioned, I'm not worried about light sources, friends, or anything like that. If you want to get more extensive into that, definitely find a watercolor artist that offers that. But this is just basic watercoloring just for the fun of it and to color in a pretty photo, or excuse me, a pretty image. So the watercolor pens that I'm using are the Spectrum Noir sparkle markers. They're a brush marker and they're water-based. So that just means they're water reactive in the way that like a watercolor paint is. And then they have sparkle in them too, which is not going to show up very well here on video, but when you look at them in real life, they're stunning. They sparkle and shine, especially when you turn them towards a light source. So like your window or the sunlight or whatever. It is really, really beautiful. So I fell in love with them a while back and I had to have like all the colors. There's probably only a few colors that I don't have. And then we have such stunning layering stencils that I don't find myself reaching for them very often, even though I love them so much. So that's why I thought that this would be really fun to do today. It's a little different from our norm, but just changing it up a little bit, I guess. Thanks, Laura. They are super fun. If you guys ever have a chance to try them out, definitely do, because I think that they're fun to use. I also wanted to mention, friends, like this is a good reminder to use the things that you have. Like I know that we all have lots of products sitting around that we maybe don't reach for very often. And so this was my kind of prompt to myself to reach for some products that may not get as much love in my crafty area with some beautiful new products. So it's a good way to validate buying new products. Like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to get this gorgeous new flower stamp set as long as I break out those watercolors that I never use. That's kind of how I justify things. Yes, Sheila. So, like I said, you don't have to be super precise here. I am not worried about the light source on these flowers. I just like the blending from dark to light. So, like I mentioned, I put the color down deeper at the towards the base of, right now we're working on the flower, but anything that you're painting, I do it darker at the base and then just blend it out to the rest of the petal or leaf or whatever it is that you're working on. Now, I learned a great philosophy about these smaller blooms that are included too, and I'll share that with you guys a little bit later. But it's something that has stuck with me. So I'll definitely share that when we start coloring those tiny little flowers. Susie, these are a little bit like zigs. They're bigger than the zig markers. And they are quite a bit more pigmented, to be honest. But they do have some similarities for sure. Like I mentioned, I am using the Cosmos Bunch stamp set today. This was illustrated by Emily Midget. Emily did a really fantastic watercolor class in our Create and Connect event. So I am nowhere near the skill level of Emily. But I definitely learned some things from Emily while moderating her class as well. So if you're ever wanting to get some great watercoloring tips, Emily is another person that you can follow as well. Oh, thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you are liking this basic watercolor technique. I appreciate that. Sorry, I lost my words there for a minute. I tend to do that when I'm like working on things at the same time. All right, so I'm just going to do all of the pink flowers first, and then we will move on to the next color. Once again, this is Pink Garnet from the Spectrum Noir Sparkle Brush, Sparkle Pen, Sparkle Marker, something like that. Sheila, yeah, you sure can. You can definitely try this out with our inks. Keep in mind that they won't be as pigmented because it's dye ink. So they're not technically meant to be used as watercolors. So you might achieve just a little bit lighter results, but you certainly can use them for doing a little bit of watercolor. I agree, Diane. I find watercoloring relaxing, super relaxing. Have been known to, in the past, I've been terrible about it lately, and I want to get better about it again. I have been known to heat emboss a bunch of floral images and then just sit there like at the TV or something and watercolor. So, and my husband just arrived home. So if my dogs get a little wily, that's the reason why, but hopefully they will, if they do, they'll calm down fairly soon. So the creative Graham, I'm not completely sure what you mean. So I'm adding a little bit of brush marker to the image, and then I'm using a water brush to fade it out. And I just kind of wipe off excess water in order to help get that lighter shading as I pull the paint out towards my petal. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if I need to explain further. Hi, Lori, thanks for joining today. Oh, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. Oh, Flora, great to know that our inks work great for mixed media techniques. I don't use them very often for that. So that is definitely great to hear. I'm glad that you have enjoyed using them for that. Okay. So of course, these larger flowers are going to be, these larger petals, I guess I should say, are going to be the pieces that, ooh, that's a lot of water, take the longest to paint. So the pink will definitely be the longest process here today. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate your kind comments. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yes, so I'm adding, yes, there we go. I'm glad that I am adding marker first. And this is a water-based marker, so it reacts to water like a watercolor would. And then I'm using just a clean water brush to pull the color out. And as I make some strokes in pulling the color out, I dry it off so that the paint will get lighter as it goes out to those petals. I did want to mention something. If you're still practicing watercoloring, take a look on the back of your packaging with the layering stencils and find where we added shadowing via stencils. That's also another way to help learn some like areas where to keep your flower darker versus lighter. So that's just another tip for if you're wanting to do something like this, but you're not completely sure how to go about it. All right, and so these ones are pretty small, so I can do a few of these petals at a time. Okay. You might have heard the tapping feet of my little dogs. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm glad that you're enjoying this. I was a little worried. I know that this is a little different from our norm, but I just thought it would be fun to change it up a little bit. You know, we're getting close to the holidays, and maybe you'll have a little bit of time as we get closer to the day to, or even like on Christmas, to practice some skills. And so I thought it would be fun to do this live and have it available for reference for future time, when you have a little bit of time available. Yes, so the packaging is super helpful, especially like the layering stencil mock-up packaging, because we add shadow details with our layering stencils. So it's a great learning tool, even for when you're testing out some watercolor as well. Okay, friends, I think maybe right in here. I think all of the pink is done. So we're going to move on to the green. You can definitely do that as well, Lori. So I'm going to move to the green. We're going to do the leaves. So I am using emerald green today. So I'm going to get that cap off. Thank you, Donna. And we're just going to do the same thing, basically, just with leaves. Let me get that brush nice and clean off. Make sure I don't have any excess pink in it. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing here. And I think I might have grabbed a little pink there, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect, does it? And now we're going to color in all the green things. And same as the petals, I color the green in a little bit darker at the base and then add some water and pull it out, just drying my brush in between kind of, you know, pulling out there each time. Okay. Someone said at this point they'll be sending, or Lori, she'll be sending out New Year's cards at this point instead of Christmas. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I don't really send out too many Christmas cards anymore, typically just a couple here and there. Hi, Mindy. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. All right. All right. So just keep finding all of the greenery. Oh, Lori is just, or excuse me, Mindy is just starting her Christmas cards. Whoa. Okay. You can also reference the card or the backing if you're ever wondering if something is supposed to be colored in or not. I know that when I was doing my little test run today, that I did reference it a few times, making sure that I was coloring in the correct thing. I have been known in the past to color in a petal or color in what I thought was a petal and it ended up being a leaf. In the end, if you do that, it's not a huge deal. But the packaging is a great reference point for that as well. And I actually see where I missed a little bit of the flower petal, but I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the green leaves. And I will just notate that it's there. It's just it's right below where I'm working right now. And I will add that pink layer back in once I'm finished up with all the greens here. Someone said they're going to start in. I always have the thought that I'm going to start Christmas cards super early in the year. And then other than our Christmas release, I never do. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well too. Thanks for joining us today. Glad you're here. Just doing a little bit of super simple and easy watercoloring today. Taking a little break from all the layering stencils and such. Okay. And I am focusing a little bit more on the larger green areas that I know are green. Once I get those done, I'll take a closer look because there are some just small little leaves that need just a tiny little bit of green added to them. And I will do that after I take a look at, after I get all of the larger green leaves finished here. Someone's saying they're going to be realistic and say they might get St. Patty's Day cards out. That makes me laugh. I'm glad you guys are loving our new release. If you're just joining us, this is the Cosmos Bunch stamp set from our most recent release. I'm just using the stamp right now with watercolor, but there, of course, is a set of layering stencils that matches it as well. This was illustrated by the lovely Emily Midget. She did such a beautiful job illustrating it, and it's a really fun one. And as I mentioned earlier in the live, I just wanted to showcase all, the different ways that you can use your products. We tend to focus on the fact that we have layering stencils for a good portion of our products, but we also, the stamps come in outline form. And so they are also perfect for watercolor as well. So we thought it would be fun to get my hand in there, to change it up a little bit today. Pretty sure that's a leaf. It's going to be a leaf, even if it isn't. Okay, so I am gonna look through here because there are some small little leaves in these tiny flowers that need some green. So I'm just going to add that green into those while I'm thinking about it. Oh, thanks, Mindy. Glad you enjoyed it. Okay. So while I'm also thinking about it, let's grab that pink marker again, and let's go ahead and get this petal colored in that I totally missed. I'm going to color this one pretty dark because it's kind of that fold over on the flower. And I always feel like those look better when they stay a little bit darker. Okay, so now we are to these tiny little flowers. And here's what I want to say that I learned from someone else about little flowers like this. And it's that you don't worry about them so much. Like, they're a beautiful part of the design, don't get me wrong, but they're not like integral. They're not these big blooms, and they're not the greenery. They're more of like an accent. So that's how we're going to treat them. And ever since I learned that, I have found it so much easier to watercolor images because I'm not so stressed out about the little ones. So I'm going to use amethyst, but it is very dark. So I'm putting a little bit of it on my glass mat, and then I'm adding some water to it so that I can dilute it a little bit. And then these, friends, we are just going to color. And the bigger ones, I'm going to do a little bit of shading, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. And then the ones that are really small, we're literally just going to add color into them, and they're going to be perfect. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. You guys are being super complimentary today. We really appreciate your kind words. Okay. Thank you, Jean. I appreciate that. Okay. And if you want areas that are a little darker, like the little middles, just add a little more paint to them, and you'll be good to go. Okay. That's my little Cocker Spaniel. She's barking at something. Hi, Jennifer. Glad you could join us today. I will mention now that we have probably more people here that I had a little mistake happen when sending out the email, and it went to not the wrong list, but just a smaller list. And so I did have to resend it, and it took a little bit of time for that one to get resent. So if you're just joining us from the email, know that this will be available for replay after it's over. So if you did miss some of it, that is why. And I see a little bit of greenery that I missed here. So I will come back to that. Oh, you're welcome, Common Sense. Appreciate that. Oh, thank you, Lori. They're pretty darn cute. All right, so I need to look at this. And I think these are still flowers. So the little ones are also the ones that are the hardest for me to distinguish if I'm supposed to paint them or not. So, but like I don't think watercolor should be stressful. So just do what you can, and it will turn out beautiful no matter what. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate it. Allison, I am using Spectrum Noir sparkle markers today for my cards. This is amethyst. I used pink garnet for the pink flowers. I used emerald green for the leaves. And then this is amethyst for the little tiny purple flowers. Oh, Sheila, that's nice to hear. Thank you. We appreciate that. These are little flowers too. And honestly, if you paint something wrong and you turn it into a flower, that's okay, because you can never have too many flowers, right? Oh, I see another little area of green that I missed. And you'll notice that as you're watercoloring images, you'll notice little areas that you've missed, and just keep it in mind, and then you can come back to them. Okay. That's funny about the citrus blooms. Okay. So I'm just going to dab up a little bit where they got a little dark in here. There we go. Okay. Did not mean to dab up that middle, however. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this washed off, and let's wipe up this purple, because I don't believe I need it anymore and I don't want to accidentally make a mess. But let's grab the green, because I did miss a couple areas of greenery. So let's get those finished, and then this guy is done, friends. We can get going on some of the other pieces and get this card finished up. There's one more leaf and I just have to find it. Oh, there it is. Found it. It's right here. Yes, Donna, watercolor is super forgiving. That is one of the best parts about it. Like, you can even blot up mistakes that you've made. Okay, friends, so that is our watercolor piece today. And it shouldn't take too long to dry. We are going to stamp a secondary sentiment to it, so it will even get a little bit more time to dry. But so let's go ahead and work on that. So I'm just going to work on it, because it got, of course, a tiny bit warped while I was doing that, because I did add water. Okay, perfect. So another thing, I am gonna stamp a secondary sentiment from the stamp set, but I wanted to use one of these new foiled sentiments that was part of our release this week. And they're so cool, because if you don't have a foiling machine, basically it's a bunch of pre-foiled sentiments. There are 42 of them that come in this pack, and there's a mixture of like cursive fonts or script fonts and and just serif, and then of course the lovely modern font that you have come to love from Pinkfresh. It's a great mixture of these, and the pack comes with both silver and gold foiled sentiments. So I'm going to use it. I wanted to use a silver sentiment today, which is why I chose to use platinum embossing powder, because I don't have silver embossing powder, which is crazy to me to think. Yes, Allison, I am working on actually our watercolor paper, which is not released yet. It's going to release sometime in 2022. We just don't have an exact date as of yet. But this is our 140-pound watercolor paper. It's luxurious, it's glorious, it's all plant-based. It's really lovely. Lori, no, they don't have coral reef, that is for sure. Okay, so this is going to be the main sentiment, but I am going to stamp a secondary sentiment underneath it. I really love this one on the Cosmos Bunch set that said, "Yesterday was heavy, put it down." And I thought it would work perfectly with this take a deep breath sentiment. So I just want to kind of snuggle it up in here because we're going to cut this entire panel with one of our newer essentials dies, the Folk Edge. So I just want to verify that this will, and of course it's stuck to my magnet, will cut fully around, and I'm not going to cut anything important off, which I'm not. So let's go ahead and get this down and just make sure that this looks like it's pretty straight. I'll also check on my Misty grid once I have it pulled up there, and I think we're good. So because the sentiment is in silver, I'm actually going to stamp this secondary sentiment in color. So I am going to stamp it in the beautiful Regal Kiss, which matches those darker tiny flowers that I inked up. So let me just make sure this is down in the corner where I want it. I'm just going to ink it up. I'll probably stamp it twice because it is watercolor paper. And I don't like to press too hard when stamping these little dainty sentiments like this. So gotta love having a stamping platform for times like this when you want to be able to stamp twice. And yes, it does actually look really nice, but I'm going to stamp it one more time just for a little bit more depth in the color. Yeah, Sue, I'm going to have to order some because I cannot believe I don't have silver embossing powder. But you know what? The platinum looks beautiful, and it really does work well with those, with the silver foiled sentiments. So, okay, so let me get this cleaned off here, put away so I don't lose it. It is a tiny sentiment. Okay, so that was a great use of having those ink cubes. I do have the full-size ink pads, of course, but when they're so small, it's nice to have the ink cubes too. Carol, we did come out with a stamp set called Always Uplifting. I think it is the same scripted font that we are that we used in this foil pack. I don't have it near me though. I would grab it, but I don't have it very close by. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and get this piece all die cut out then. So like I mentioned, I planned on doing a note card for this. So I don't think I'm even going to use the die for the floral set. I think I'm just going to keep it as is on the panel. So I want to make sure that this is nice and straight and everything is within the frame. And of course, I don't have any tape unstuck, so I'm going to have to kind of realign that here in a second. Yes, definitely agree. Stamping platforms are like a lifesaver when it comes to stamping and card making in general. Actually, it was never a very good stamper until I got a stamping platform because I'm a very light stamper. So it definitely changed my world. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run this through real quick. Might be a little loud for a second. Right. Put that away. So I'm currently pretty obsessed with this die, this essential die set. I love that it cuts edge to edge on a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. I didn't think I would love that. I think I at first was like a little bummed that it didn't, that it didn't mat within the card, but I have been totally loving the edge to edgeness, for lack of a better term, that the largest frame cuts out. just because I think that it looks so pretty edge to edge this way. And then you can actually have little pops of color poke out from underneath the little oval cutout things if you want, which is actually what I'm going to do on my card today. So I just got to make sure I get them all poked out. This is 140-pound watercolor paper, so they like to stay where they're at. All right. So we are really close to being done, friends. I can't believe I watercolored an entire panel and I'm assembling a card in an hour. I'm pretty darn proud of myself there. And you know, friends, I do see a couple of areas where I didn't get the pink. That's a great thing about having these markers is you can just kind of get the pink down in there where I am seeing a little bit of white poking through or a little bit of watercolor paper. And then once it dries a little bit, I can wipe that off and make it look a little bit nicer. Okay. I do have multiple sizes of Misties. I have the mini Misty, the standard Misty, and the memory. I don't use the memory Misty very often, but I do use the other two a lot. And I'm pretty sure Heather also has many or all the different sizes of Misties too. So this is just a full panel foam adhesive that I make on my own with white craft foam and 5-inch score tape. And this it doesn't interfere with that beautiful edge. So it's just on the inside. So your edge stays nice and clean, but you're getting a nice flat surface for adhering to your card. And then I have a pink top folding A2 card base that's just going to peek out underneath those little holes in the folk edge design, which I'm pretty excited to see. Okay, so you see that it looks like I froze up for a minute, but it looks like we're back on. It never froze up for me, which is strange. So hopefully everybody is jumping back in and seeing it. So give me a second while I get this panel lined up with my card. Okay. I just want to make sure that it's nice and aligned. Perfect. Oop, and I missed a couple of these little thingies here. So Carol, the sentiment is from our pre-foiled die cut pack that we released this month. It is linked in the video description. It is also under the new section on our website. Okay, so I am going to pop up this the foiled sentiment from the foil pack. I'm going to pop it up with a little bit of foam tape here. Thank you, Connie. Oh, and I'm glad the making your own foam panel tip has been a helpful one for you, Allison. Yeah, we love doing that. We definitely found it to be the most cost-effective way to have a nice big full foam piece of foam tape. Okay, so let's get those off. And I just need to do a little bit of accenting and then we are good to go, friends. Yeah, Sheila, I feel like I struggle with that way with using a Misty to line it up. I just do a better job of eyeballing it, I think. I think that I start to second guess myself when I'm using like a Misty to line things up. All right, so let's get that on there. Perfect. All right, and then we just released these gorgeous sparkling champagne iridescent pearls. They are beautiful, and they, funny enough, when we first saw them, we kind of were like, I don't think we knew what to think about them. I think we were worried that they wouldn't match very well with things. We didn't love how they looked in the packaging all together. But when you start to add them to your projects, they definitely feel more neutral than they do in the packaging, and they are stunning. So let's just accent a few of the flowers here with these beautiful pearls, and you will see what I mean, friends. They're just so pretty. And I think that I'm going to add a couple of smaller guys to these flowers here, and then a couple of the really small ones to just some of those purple flower petals. Carol, I'm actually a little surprised myself. So I am pleasantly surprised that I got this done in an hour. Because I am by no means an expert at watercoloring. So I'm a little thrilled myself. Okay. Let's see. I actually might, no, we're getting a few too many on here. So I'm going to find just that like fourth size. So there's 4 sizes. There we go. Nope, that's actually a little big. So we're going to stick with the little guy. And we're just going to make a nice little trio on these small guys up here. And then we're going to be done with jewels. We'll leave one off. Okay. So let me put these away so that I don't get them everywhere. We're going to get these glued down, and then we are good to go. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your kind comments. Okay. Let's get these guys. That was a little bit too much glue, but that's okay. It will dry clear, friends. Okay. I'm trying to decide, do I like those ones there? You know what? I think I'm going to leave off the ones on these smaller guys and just do, or those blooms that don't have centers. I think I'm going to leave the pearls off of them. Yeah, I think I prefer that. Yep, I do. So I'll put those away. All right, friends, there is my card for today. You've got that lovely foiled sentiment. I think it goes with the platinum embossing powder quite beautifully. I'm not sure why it's freezing. Hopefully it's not freezing up for everyone, because it's totally fine on mine. So very strange. Okay, well, that is my finished card for today. So let me get the camera flipped around. We'll wait for Heather to pick and post a winner. And hopefully for those of you that were having a couple of technical glitches, that it will be totally fine on replay. Okay. Give me a sec while I get everything flipped around here. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, friends. I'm glad. I kind of can't believe that I got an entire card watercolored in an hour, but I'm happy that I did. And Shay, I actually don't know how to fix that, unfortunately. I don't have it happen very often, but I have had it happen before, and I'm sorry, I just don't have a fix for you on that one. Okay. Well, don't forget, if you haven't checked out the new release yet, that it is available in our online shop. But check our new section here. And it looks like we have a winner. Congratulations to Renee Gravelding. you have won today's $15 gift card code. So congratulations. All you have to do to claim your prize is email me. My email is leah@pinkfreshstudio.com. There's no H on the end of my name, so it's just LEA@pinkfreshstudio.com, and then give me about 2 to 3 days to reply back with your gift card code. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Thursday, we will be live on Facebook with Heather at 12 noon. And I think that's all of our lives this week. Jeff won't be back with Craft Hour until January. So Craft Hour is done for the year. And I think Scrapbooking Lives are also done for the year. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they are. So I think it's just me and Heather. And we will have some in the coming holiday weeks where I think we're only going to do one live per week. And I think Heather and I are going to do one together in the next week or so. But Heather will be on Facebook. We'll be on Facebook Live on Thursday at 12 noon. So hopefully we will catch you then. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you next week. Bye.